Yo, parish orphans and retrogrades. Just 4 days after Pope Francis stunned the world and impressed the conservative faithful Christian world by saying "Frociagine," which was sort of based, if it wasn't Peronism. He announces 3 appointments to the cardinalate. Those appointments directly contradict the idea being peddled by many that Francis hates Frociagine. Basta Frociagine. Abbiamo bisogno di superare Frociagine. Yeah, I mean, Pope Francis wants to overcome Frociagine in the seminaries. This is not the way to do it. These 3 appointments, reported here on Twitter by Sir Edward Penton. I know he's not legitimately a sir, but I always say he's Obi-Wan Kenobi. Just, when did Ed Penton? Yeah, he did this on June the 1st, this tweet. And the appointments had been made the day before, of Cardinal Jose Tolentino de Mendoza, Cardinal Marcelo Semeraro, and Archbishop Bruno Forte. Oh, wow. I overlooked the fact that one of these was Bruno Forte of the Synod on the Family infamy. Well, this contradicts everything that Pope-splainers were trying to say in favor of Francis, just because he's a Peronist who knows how to play the left and the right, and he says words that excite the right, yours included. I love words like Frociagine. But I didn't fall, unlike most of the rest of the Pope-splaining right, I didn't fall for it. I did a show last week. It was, in some sense, the only new show that I did last week, the only non-recorded show, Francis on Doublespeak. And I talked about how it was, as a matter of fact, doublespeak for Pope Francis, who had recently promulgated Fiducia Supplicans for the first time in Catholic Christian history, allowing, permitting the blessings of 2 Homo sapiens at the same time. It was very strange for him to say enough Frociagine, basta Frociagine, in the seminaries. And I didn't buy it. This was Peronist doublespeak. Well, literally on the day, June 1st, 2 days ago, Ed Penton posted this on Twitter. Pope Francis today appointed the following 3 prelates as members of the dicastery for the doctrine of the faith. All have defended the church's moral teaching in marriage between a man and a woman. This just means that they say, well, it can't be sacramental marriage unless it's between one man and one woman. That's not a big deal. That's a workaround obstacle for them. They just say, we'll work around that. Same thing with a woman can't be an ordained deacon. I told you this last summer, before the 2023 October Synod. I said, this is a workaround block for them. They'll just reduplicate the sacrament and say it's non-sacramental. So he says, however, Cardinal Jose Tolentino de Mendoza, prefect of the Dicastery for Culture and Education, served for some years as rector, don't make too much of that, of the Cappella Dorato, a private chapel in Lisbon, known for ministering to Homo sapiens, whom he said he doesn't judge. Ed Penton then links to a Register article, NC Register. The cardinal has also been a supporter of Maria Teresa Forcades y Vila, whatever that is, a former religious sister famous for advocating queer theology. I thought they didn't like that word, the people who are queer. And wrote a preface to one of her books. He links to a 1 Peter 5 article. I think I've gone to 1 Peter 5's weblog like 3 or 4 times since poor Steve Skojek left. Steve did a good job when he ran that outfit before he lost his mind. He really did that a bang up job running 1 Peter 5, and he's the founder. The second cardinal is Marcello Semeraro. Oh, he's Italian, so it's Marcello. Prefect of the Dicastery of the Causes of the Saints, has reportedly turned his diocese into the Italian capital of the Catholic Jihad movement, annually hosting the Forum of Italian LGBT LMNOPQRSTUVWXYZ Christians, a group seeking to make Homo sapienism fully accepted inside the church. He, Cardinal Marcello Semeraro, also wrote the foreword to a book by an Italian priest entitled Possible Love, Homo Sapien Persons and Christian Morality. That sounds titillating. But not, because it's about love between two men, right? Sorry. And has supported legal recognition of Homo sapien civil unions, linking to a new Daily Compass article. The third pro-Homo sapien nomination, Homo sapienist nomination by Francis, who we all were being led to believe hated Frocagine, is Archbishop Bruno Forte of Chieti Vasto in Italy, was responsible for sections on Homo sapienism in the controversial interim document of the First Synod on the Family in 2014. See, I got a memory on me. Those controversial interim documents attempted to open the door to acceptance of Homo sapien relations in the church. He cites a BBC article. Penton's the best. He always cites what he's got, brings the receipts. A man after my own heart. And specifically, that attempt informed a line in one of the relatio documents, the midterm report documents, that said, we have to acknowledge the positive aspects or elements in Homo sapien relationships. He, Bruno Forte, has been a prominent voice, a forte, una voce forte, advocating for more inclusion and respect for Homo sapienism and Homo sapien rights within the church. He cites La Stampa. And then we have pictures of these fantastic gentlemen. Look at these guys. Oh, just in. Let's see. Vatican publishes Pope Francis's preface to the Italian version of James Martin's book, Come Forth. Gross. Released tomorrow. Quote, we should be very grateful to Father James Martin, whose other writings I also know and appreciate in the for this new book of his. So Pope Francis, okay, so that's more Homo sapien news. Pope Francis is appreciative to James Martin, Homo sapienist. What? You're a naughty pet. James Martin writing books, publishing, globe-trotting around the globe, finding all the mans and talking to them. Sorry, someone said in the audience last time that James Martin, FJ, said that I'm too good at that. It's too easy an accent to do.
All boys in the 90s knew how to do that accent well.
The Homo sapien accent, and like a poo, no.
The
Hasapima pedalon. Everyone knows how to do a Quickie Mart voice and a Homo sapien voice. So, yeah. So, Frank, I mean, that's just breaking right now. Michael Haynes reported that on Twitter. Thank you, Michael. Thank you, Michael Haynes. News on James Martin, SJ. And then these three cardinals, Jose Tolentino de Malanda, whatever his name is, Cardinal Marcello Semeraro, and Archbishop Bruno Forte. These guys all love the man's, at least the man's rights. That's all I'm saying. They love the man's rights. The man's rights for loving one another. And Pope Francis is all for it. He just nominated them. This is Peronism at its finest. You say something that the right will cheer for as you usher in leftist causes. Juan Perón couldn't have done it better himself, and Francis learned how to rule as a sovereign from Juan Perón. All these funny Hispanic names. No offense, guys, but it's just funny.
No offense taken.
Yeah. Talking to the Hispanic in the room. In my own defense, half Hispanic. You're just half Hispanic. Okay, so let us say this much. Michael Haynes just reported more Peronism because Pope Francis has written a back of the book blurb for James Martin in praise of his work. His work is monolithically pro-Homo sapien. That's why we know this bald goon, James Martin. He's a naughty pet. And so we'll talk a little bit about these three guys. I'll read a little bit from the three articles involving each of these nominees. So, I already did the show on this. Francis very clearly showed his Peronist hand by saying "frociagine." There's too much of that funny business in the seminaries right after promulgating fiducia supplicans, giving extra quote-unquote rights to the Homo sapiens so that they can get blessed together and pretend that they're, well, maybe they're not allowed to pretend they're married, but they're allowed to pretend they're a semi-legit romantic couple because they can go get blessed together instead of individually now. He also fired, before he promulgated fiducia supplicans, he fired the outgoing prefect for the Congregation of the Doctrine of the Faith, Ladaria Ferrer, for standing up against that document and for telling the German synodal way, we don't do this here. When they celebrated 800 churches around Germany, that kind of coupled them, SS couples. So he stood up in March 2021, got fired for so doing, and Francis literally fired him and replaced him with the German synodal way, Bishop Heiner Wilmer, as it was going to be the head of the CDF. And Heiner Wilmer was the German prelate who had been flaunting the rules in Ladaria Ferrer's face and saying, you can't control the German synodal way. We're going to bless all these little fantastic boys here in Germany in 800 churches. So he fires him, attempts to give his job to Heiner Wilmer. That doesn't work out. Somehow the Cardinals got him not to do that. It would have been too much tipping of the hand by Francis. Remember, he works by incrementalism. So instead, he just gave us Tucho Fernandez as the new CDF prefect, who the second day on the job started preparing fiducia supplicans. So I didn't buy it when Francis says, hey, I hate frociagine. Yeah, so do I, Francis. But you guys needed to see something, because that happened about 6 months ago, fiducia supplicans. A lot of you guys have shorter memories, and you needed to see something more recent. Okay, well, just 2 days ago, he makes this elevation of these three ideologically light in the loafers boys to the CDF, the Holy Office. I'm going to go back to calling it the Holy Office because Francis calls it the DDF. I think that's dumb. The CDF is kind of lame anyway. The Holy Office sounds based.